I've tried to find well, I can justify that. I really have tried really hard to find the justification for them wanting to move on from Micah Parsons and there is none. It's an awful move. Like, it just is. And if you wanted to say, we were having the discussion, I think it was last year, that the three guys in Dallas that were coming up on deals that were going to need new contracts were Micah Parsons, CD Lamb, and Dak Prescott.
Buy Dak, buy CD.
100%.
Sign Micah.
You can, and this is not a shot at, I think Dak Prescott's a good quarterback, not a shot at him. You could probably find another quarterback who can do what Dak does. Not a shot at CD Lamb. He's a very good wide receiver. He's had great years in the NFL. You can find another CD Lamb. Micah Parsons, through this portion of his career, I mean, we're talking like historical numbers from a pass rusher. And that's the one they chose to part ways with. And to Brady's point, like, what are those first-round picks? Like, they're talking about, well, this is going to help us in the future. You remember when Khalil Mack got traded? Green Bay was the other team that was trying to get Khalil Mack. John Gruden specifically chose to trade him elsewhere to Chicago and not Green Bay because he thought the first-round picks they were going to get from Chicago were going to be worse than Green Bay's. Jerry Jones just made a bad team worse and a good team better. I can't find the win in this for Dallas. This is, if you're a Cowboys fan, if you're like, it feels like we're entering into Al Davis territory towards the end of his time with the Raiders. It just feels like, hey man, are we sure this is the guy at this point that we want calling the shots for the team?
Dang.
This is an example though of an owner who also plays general manager. You know, in his mind, he can say that he's working on whatever time frame he wants. Like, this is building towards the future. Now, to the best of my knowledge, I don't know if the figures because he said, it helps their cap space or cap situation. All right. I don't know if these figures are correct and it's post now this trade or if it's still taking that into account. But at least what I'm seeing, they're second in the NFL in cap space. So that's a blatant lie. Like, information you can look up if you're a Cowboys fan and look Jerry in the eyes and go, this has nothing to do with cap space. You mean cap space for the future? Hey, Jerry, you have got a bunch of cash. You're the most valuable franchise in the world. Just give him a big signing bonus. You know, help spread that out like you did for Dak over the course of the next 8 years. Like, it's gross mismanagement of the roster, and even more so, just the Dallas Cowboy fan base. Like, continuing to perpetuate a lie. This entire offseason, from the hiring of Brian Schottenheimer and how that went about, and now getting to the point of the negotiations with Micah Parsons, this might be the most damning thing. And that includes the Jerry Jones bus. This might be the most damning thing that has occurred with Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys ever. Ever.
No, I
don't even know what happened on that bus. I hear everyone talks about that bus.
I'll say this right now. It's worse than the Luka trade in Dallas. Because
I just don't.
At least you got an established player in return, and Kenny Clark's a nice player, but at least you got Anthony Davis, and there was some feel like I just don't get it, man. I'm sorry, I don't get it.
If you were to get rid of Patrick Mahomes in a trade in the fifth year of his contract, the last year of his rookie contract, would people lose their minds over it? Would people melt down over the Kansas City Chiefs trading Patrick Mahomes because of what he was demanding contractually speaking?
Yeah, so much so that I don't even think people could get their mind to grasp the concept of that actually happening.
So here's the point I'm trying to drive home with that. While he's not a quarterback, if you look at what he's accomplished and the names, and I said this yesterday, I'm going to double down on it. You can only mention Micah Parsons' name in terms of what he's been able to do, body of work, with Lawrence Taylor and Reggie White. Now, some of y'all out there may not remember Reggie White, which I don't know why you wouldn't if you're a football fan. But if you're a football fan and you know the game, to be compared to Reggie White. Micah Parsons goes to Green Bay as the only other person outside of Reggie White to have 12 sacks, 12 plus sacks in the first 2-3 years or whatever it is of their, whatever it is, right? This is not a scenario where he is a normal, really good defensive player. He is a premier generational talent that you can only mention with a handful of names, and he's still in his rookie contract. That's why I brought Patrick Mahomes up as an example. If this was a quarterback, I think the backlash and the outrage would be so pronounced that there would be a total meltdown in media today if that was a quarterback. And that's the only difference here, is that it's not a quarterback. But outside of that, this is probably the most egregious move that I've witnessed in watching professional sport. It might be the most egregious move to let a generational talent that's on his rookie contract go from your team. Like, that's pretty wild, man.
Especially when you drafted. You know what I'm saying? Like, this whole debacle is like, it's a guy you drafted, you selected. He's been everything that you'd hoped he'd be and more. And you can't get a deal done? I mean, which, mind you, looking at the contract, it's not one of those where you go, blew it out of the park. Like, the $47 million average annual value, like, all that to me, it's all to the wayside. It's what's guaranteed at signing. It's 100 full guaranteed in signing. That's significant. That's good. You're telling me Jerry Jones couldn't do that? Like, you're telling me that the hang-up supposedly was guarantees, if I'm not mistaken. And there was maybe an additional year that the Cowboys wanted, which from the standpoint of when the contract ends, which he would be around the age of 30. So I'm sure his agent's telling him, hey, if you want another bite at the apple, don't be 31. Look at Trey Hendrickson. Be 30. Be 29. Like, be in that range. Or you're 29, heading into your last year, you can re-up. Or you're 30, you can, force potentially, get into free agency. Then you have a much better chance of teams still paying you that huge next deal. So that's legitimate. But again, you're telling me that Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys couldn't figure out a way of structuring the contract, paying him $120 million fully guaranteed at signing? Like, was it really just about the contract?
No,
because it's not the type of contract they couldn't absorb. So I don't know. I've got more questions than anything else. And I remember hearing stuff, and I don't know, Jonas, if you remember this too. Someone had said, like, this is like a year ago, that, maybe there's some stuff behind the scenes the team's not overly thrilled about. And, again, he's done everything on the field you'd hoped he would do. So I'm not sure if there's more of a backstory. They felt like maybe he was a headache or bad for the team in a way as far as how he's conducting himself. Because none of this makes sense. None of this makes sense.
But here's the thing. He's so good, how does that even matter? If it ain't something so crazy, like, how does that matter? Some of the greatest football players have been the most touched football players. Can't deal with them. I mean, it is what it is. And I'm not saying that to say I'm defending Micah, because I don't even think that that's the case. I mean, some guys have had, the guy came out and said he needs to be paying attention to football more than his podcast. I felt like that was a shade grenade. Like mow your lawn. Make sure your lawn is good. Like, why are you?
Does he have a podcast? Like, I didn't realize he had a podcast. Does he?
Well, he's like
Malik Hooker got pissed about it. Like,
yeah, they created a whole network that he's like the president or something of for on Bleacher Report.
Yeah.
There's something to that effect, but he does a show.
Which again, you could have fooled me. Like, there's never been a time where I feel like he hasn't been focused on football outside of
and that's correct.
Trying to get the contract done.
I don't think there's anything that can legitimize outside of something that we know in the public. Outside of something we know in the public, like he didn't slap somebody or, and even then I don't know that that's going to be enough. Because that's how good he is. He's that good of a talent.
They traded for Charles Haley, who used to tug his slug in meetings. and we're talking about Micah Parsons being a pain in the ass on a podcast behind the scenes.
They hired T.O. too. They've hired some guys that you would consider to be maybe a little bit disruptive in the locker room. And Jerry Jones is always. They hired Greg Hardy. Like, do we not remember? Forget about it. Like, you can't use that as an excuse.
I don't get it. And also, like, I think it was Breer who made this a point. Talking about what are the chances this doesn't get done? He was like, well, there's been some things behind the scenes, and he kind of sort of threw it out there. And even Jerry Jones yesterday was talking about, with this kind of contract, we wanted Micah to take on more of a leadership role, like take on more leader. It's like, I don't know. I mean, I'd rather see somebody, run up 60 sacks in 4 seasons, to show their
leadership. That is leadership.
Yeah, like I don't.
The way he plays, it's leadership. Let's be clear.
None of it makes sense. Literally, none of it makes sense.
I feel like I gave what could be the most substantial. The moment you get rid of that type of player, that has to say to me that sparks a rebuild. How do you there's no other way unless you are out of touch with reality. There's no other way to legitimize or to justify a move like this if you're not planning a rebuild. How do you get rid of your that's a pillar. That's a foundational piece to building if winning a Super Bowl is what you want to do, that's a foundational piece. How do you just remove pieces from your foundation if you're planning on winning a Super Bowl? Unless you're planning on being able to replace it with something that you feel is so significant that you would actually take on the responsibility of doing what they just did.